Will this little known cut of meat give you the best bite of pork rib you've ever had in your life? We're gonna find out in this video because I'm cooking the bacon rib, so let's get smoking. First question, what is a bacon rib? I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't even know what it was until recently because it's been popularized by my favorite Texas barbecue restaurant, Leroy and Lewis. They serve a special menu item called the bacon rib, and what it is it's the lower rib cage of a pig, basically the spare ribs that come down from here, and it has the pork belly still attached to it. Usually the butcher will take the spare ribs and remove them from the pork belly and make the pork belly into bacon or pork belly and sell it separately. But with a pork rib, the spare ribs are still attached to the pork belly. If you go to your butcher, they may know what you're talking about when you ask for a bacon rib, but chances are it'll have to be a specially ordered or specially butchered item. I had to go into my local butcher and specially request this and give him instructions on how to butcher it. Luckily, Brad over at Chud's Barbecue did a great video over on the Leroy and Lewis YouTube channel on how to butcher a bacon rib. It is not really intuitive, so if you want to get one of these from your butcher, I'd recommend sending that video segment to your butcher and giving him detailed instructions on how to cut it. And then when you get it, trim it up and cut it according to that video that Brad did, which is very informative. I'd also like to give a shout out to Brad from Chud's Barbecue for helping me with this recipe. It's not the exact recipe that Leroy and Lewis does, but it has some similarities. And as always, I will link the video that Brad from Chud's Barbecue and Leroy and Lewis did over on the Leroy and Lewis YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description section below if you guys want to check it out. So to prepare the bacon rib, you're gonna have to start 10 days in advance, and you're going to have to weigh out some Prag powder number 1. This contains the nitrites that are needed to cure the bacon rib and give it its bacon flavor. I did 0.25%, which worked out to around 15 grams for this 12-pound bacon rib. I also added 1.25% by weight kosher salt, which worked out to 73 grams. And I used 1.5% brown sugar, which worked out to around 88 grams. So that's about 3% by weight total for the dry brine. I rubbed the dry brine all over the pork rib, and then I put it in a vac seal bag and I left it there for 10 days, and I flipped it every day so that it would cure evenly. After the 10 days, I removed it from the vac seal, I rinsed it off, and it looks like what you see right here. Now we're going to apply the rub. Now you can use the Leroy and Lewis rub, which I'll put in the description section below, but for this video, I'm going to use Sure Shot Sid's Roasted Coffee Gunpowder Rub. And I got this idea from Big Al's Barbecue, another great YouTube channel. I'll link it below in the description section so you can check it out. He did this recipe a little bit different, but he used this rub, which is super amazing. What he did is he actually cut the ribs individually and smoked them, but I'm gonna be smoking it as a whole muscle, and then I'll slice it at the end. So starting from the back, I'm going to start generously applying this rub. It's hard to overdo it with this big a cut of meat. This is a huge 12-pound slab of bacon ribs, so you can put on quite a bit of rub. So we'll do the back. We will get the sides. This thing is really slippery. We'll flip it over, and now we'll do the fat cap. It has this huge fat cap. This is actually the pork belly, which is right sitting on top of the spare ribs. It's gonna taste absolutely amazing after it all renders down. I'm really excited about this. Okay, this guy's all rubbed up. Running it a little bit hotter and faster than normal because this pork rib has a ton of fat on top of it that I really want to render well, and it has the bones protecting the bottom and the fat protecting the top of the meat, so I'm not too worried about going at a higher temperature, and we want that higher temperature to render all of that fat. So normally I'd run around 225, 250 to start something like a brisket or a pork butt or ribs, but we're just starting at 275, 300, and we're going to run at that temperature through the entire cook. Now let's take a look at the bacon rib. It's looking pretty nice. It's been on for maybe an hour now. I'm just gonna give it a spritz just to keep the surface moist so that it attracts smoke better, builds up more smoke flavor, gets a darker bark, helps it cook more evenly by spraying the edges that are getting a little bit crispy. And I'm going to rotate it. Again, just to help this thing cook a little bit more evenly. Unlike a brisket, the bacon rib is obviously more consistent. It doesn't have a larger point muscle and a flat muscle, so we want to rotate it to help it cook more evenly. So I'll just turn it 90 degrees clockwise, and I'll do that every 30 minutes along with spritzing it. And we're just gonna keep rolling with that strategy until it hits around 190 degrees internal. All right, guys, it has been 8 hours, so let's take a look at this pork rib. Okay, that's looking really nice. You can see how it's bubbling a little bit on the fat cap. That's perfect. That tells me that it's rendering. And if you look down here, you can see some fat dripping down. The fat cap has shrunk up a little bit. It's got this weird bubble on it. I don't quite know what that is. And over there as well. Ooh, that's hot. But that's probably telling me that it's rendering well. So I'm gonna give this guy a temp with my Thermapen. Let's see what it's temping at. I'll do a corner here. So we're like 184 over here. 190 over in the corner. 195, and right in the middle, we're around 186. So normally I'd wait until I get everything up to 190, but I'm not too worried about it, and I gotta get this in the holding oven because I have friends coming over in like 5 minutes. So I'm gonna take this out and I'm gonna wrap it, and I'll show you how I do that. I'm just gonna take my Oklahoma Joe's pork butt lifter, and we'll take this probe out here. And I'm just gonna slide this guy under. It's got these little scalloped edges so it doesn't mess up the bark. It probably still will mess up the bark a little bit, but let's see here. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. This is a two-hand lift. It's a two-hand lift, guys. Oh yeah, that's a beefy boy. Porky boy. Okay, now I'm gonna wrap this guy up just like a brisket. The only difference is I'm not using any butcher paper or added tallow or clarified butter or anything like that. I'm just wrapping it up as it is. And now this bacon rib is gonna go into my CVAP holding oven. You guys probably don't have one of these. I have one of these because I'm a YouTube baller and I have all the fun toys. No, I'm just kidding. You can use a sous vide holding chest. I've got a tutorial on how you can make a sous vide holding chest for about $100 to keep brisket and pork butt and all your barbecue at a steady 150 pretty much indefinitely. You can use the oven, you can use a turkey roaster, you can use a toaster oven. There's lots of different ways to do it. If you guys need help on how to hold your barbecue, it's a really important thing to do. Just let me know in the description section below and I'll help you out. Okay, so Mr. Bacon Rib is gonna go in the CVAP. We're gonna close this guy up and then we're gonna wait 18 hours. I'm gonna hold this at 155 degrees. Usually I hold at 150, but I want a little bit of a higher holding temperature to help render all that fat because there is a ton of fat on this bacon rib. It's probably like 50% fat. So I'll see you guys in 18 hours. Before we taste this bacon rib, I'd like to thank Sure Shot Sids for sponsoring this video. Sure Shot Sids is a line of amazing rubs that will take your barbecue game to the next level. You saw me use the coffee rub in this video, which is absolutely delicious, but I've also used it on many other things like pork belly with amazing results. Their original gunpowder rub goes great as a final layer on brisket, and it gives it an extra salty and umami kick and adds a bit of grilled meat flavor with its grillin' flavor. All of the rub varieties I've tried are absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend trying them all. You can buy Sure Shot Sids on Amazon, which I'll link in the description section below, and you can also check out their website to see all of their lineup of rubs. I really like the original gunpowder seasoning, the coffee rub, and the original barbecue. Those are my favorites, but they're all absolutely delicious. All right, let's get back to the video. All right, guys, it is the next day, and we're gonna take a look at this bacon rib and see what it's looking like. Ooh. That is some nice looking bark. Look at that, guys. That is absolutely beautiful. Love it. Okay, let's see if I can take this thing out of the wrap without it falling apart. Wow, this is super tender. Now, to slice this thing, I could slice it from the top and preserve the bark as best as possible, but I know I'm gonna screw that up because I can't see where the bones are running, and the bones could be going at really different angles. So just like a regular rack of ribs, I'm gonna flip this over, but I'm gonna do it really carefully because the fat cap is so well rendered that it's going to smear and smush really easily if we don't exercise some caution here. Okay, so I'm going to look for the first rib. It is kind of like a pointy bone here, so I'm just gonna remove that entirely, throw that away. I'm gonna sneak a little bit of a bite here and see how salty it is. It's definitely salty enough, so I'm not gonna add any salt to the glaze. Normally, if I was eating a piece of barbecue and it wasn't salted enough, I'd fix it with the sauce by adding more salt to the sauce, but this is pretty salty from the brine and the rub that we used already. So I'm gonna take a slice right down the middle of this rib, and then it takes a bit of a turn right here, so I'm going to have to turn a little bit. Okay, there is one rib. It is looking super delicious, guys. I'm gonna carefully put this to the side and move on to the next one. Slice it right down the middle there. It is separating really easily. I'll give you guys a look. Man, that is looking super good. It is falling apart quite a bit, which is kind of concerning me, but hopefully I can fix that up on the smoker. I'll give you guys a nice shot of this one. That is absolutely massive. That is a crazy big rib. All right, I'm just gonna move this to the side and get a wire rack here. Now I've just put a little toothpick in here because the fatty part, the bacon, wanted to come off of the rib part. So we'll put that guy right there. All right, now for the final step, I'm going to apply some of this glaze that I made. This is a cup of maple syrup. It's a tablespoon of brown sugar. It is a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar just for a bit of tang. And that's it, it's pretty simple. And I'm just going to glaze the ribs with it. And now that these guys are glazed, I'm putting them back on the smoker for about 30 minutes at around 250 degrees, just to set up that glaze and get some extra smoke on the sides that didn't get any bark. Now, these bacon ribs have actually been on the smoker for 2 hours. I said 30 minutes, but it actually took 2 hours to get some nice smoke formation and to tack up the glaze that I put on the exterior of the meat. They look really good right now. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was a little bit sweaty because when I took it out of the tinfoil wrap after the long hold, some of the pieces were falling apart, but after they got a chance to set up in the smoker, they've solidified a little bit more and they're not falling apart as much, so I'm not as worried about this method being a total fail anymore. I thought this was gonna be a fail video, so I'm glad these turned out really good. So let's dig into one of these. I'm gonna take just the biggest one, because, oh my God, this looks like the most decadent piece of barbecue I've ever seen in my life. This looks crazy. Look at that bacon rib, guys. That is bacony, that is pork belly-y, that is ribby. It's like combining all of the best things about pork. Okay, let's take a bite of this. I don't even know how to eat this. I guess I'll just dive into it. Oh my God. Guys, look at this bite that I just took. That is so juicy. That is ridiculous. If I squeeze it a little bit, you guys can see how it just, oh my God, it just falls apart. That is crazy. See this rendered fat on top? It's all perfectly rendered, delicious, tastes like a pork belly on a rib. Oh my God. Oh my God. Guys, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. It is absolutely, I can't even describe it in any other word but ridiculous. It's like all of the good things about barbecue: sugar, fat, collagen, meat, pork. It is crazy. Look at this, look how tender that is. Okay, I'm past the pork belly part. Let's pull this apart. And this is the rib. This is just the spare rib. Let's take a bite of this. Oh my God. That is so good. Just absolutely perfect. The meat is perfectly cooked. The fat is so juicy. Look at that meteorite bark. That is so amazing. I'll give this a squish. Oh my God. That is so good. Okay, I gotta stop eating this thing because it's probably like 10,000 calories per rib and it's very filling. I had a couple bites and I'm already full. This is absolutely amazing, guys. This is probably one of the best bites I've ever had in barbecue. So I think the question for this video is a bacon rib the best bite of pork you can possibly get? I think it is. I think it definitely is after testing this out. This is absolutely amazing. It's like eating a pork belly on a rib. A perfectly cooked pork belly that is super well rendered. It has all of the fat perfectly rendered. It has the bark and the top of the fat cap totally rendered so that it has that nice yellowish caramelly consistency, and it just tastes absolutely amazing. It's got sugar, it's brined with those nitrites and sugar and salt, so it has that bacony flavor. It's just got so much stuff going on. Plus it has the spare rib underneath it. So you bite through the pork belly, bacon part of it, and you get into a perfectly cooked spare rib that is super juicy. This is an amazing cut of barbecue. And guys, this is my take on how I would cook a bacon rib. Leroy and Lewis does it differently. They kind of par smoke the bacon rib the day before in a whole slab up to around 140, 150. Then they refrigerate it, and then the next day they slice it, they coat it in the rub, and then they smoke it all the way to like 180, 190, probe tender, and then they serve it. So it gets a lot more bark around the outside. This one doesn't have any bark or rub on the slices because we cooked it as a whole slab and then we just gave it some smoke at the end of the cook. But I think that this method probably gives you a little bit more moisture because it's almost cooked like a pork belly to super tenderness. It has that long hold, but you don't get as much bark and maybe as much flavor on the outside. And there's a third method. I mentioned Big Al's Barbecue at the beginning of this video. He actually did a video where he sliced the bacon ribs at the very start of the cook and then rubbed them and cooked them all the way to completion. So a little bit different than the way I did it, a little bit different than the way Leroy and Lewis did it, but it's all amazing barbecue, guys. It all turns out good because this is a really difficult cut of meat to screw up. It's got a lot of fat in it, a lot of collagen, a lot of porky goodness. So I highly encourage you guys to go to Leroy and Lewis and try their bacon rib. It looks absolutely amazing. And although I haven't had the chance to try that particular barbecue dish at Leroy and Lewis, all the other food that I ate when I was in Austin on my trip there last year was absolutely phenomenal. It was so good. But I'm interested to hear what you guys think. Are you gonna try your hand at the bacon rib? And if you do, what method are you gonna use? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you guys wanna get more involved in the Smoked Trails Barbecue community, you can join my Patreon. You'll get access to a private Discord server where you can get access to me instantly and access to a great community of people that are really passionate about barbecue. You can follow me on Instagram. You can join the Facebook group called the Smoked Trails Barbecue Nerd Facebook group. You can just leave a comment below. You can subscribe. You can like. All of that helps the channel. It helps me do more experiments and it helps me do more recipe videos like this. So thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you. I will see you in the next video. And until then, happy smoking. Guys, one more thing before I let you go. I wanted to mention that a couple days before I had planned to publish this video, after I had edited it, Mad Scientist Barbecue came out with a recipe for the bacon rib where he cooked the bacon rib 2 different ways. Really excellent video. So I'm gonna link that here and in the description section below so you can check that out as well. Happy smoking for real this time. See you in the next video.